Swiss watchmaker Rado has maintained a long and successful career crafting signature luxury watches since the early 1900s. Equally notable, Rado has built an unmatched reputation for their mastery of metallurgy, employing radical or rare materials in their references since the early 1960s, like high-tech ceramics. Around that same time, riding on the popularity of Jacques Cousteau's fame and scuba diving's growing appeal, watchmakers doubled down on capable diving watches to meet the unique set of challenges faced by seabound explorers. In response, Rado released the Captain Cook, a beautifully crafted diver with equal parts form and function, with a name appropriated from the prominent 16th century British circumnavigator James Cook. Although wildly successful at the time of its release, production waned in the decades to follow, and the Captain Cook lay dormant waiting for revival. However, spawned by a new vintage-crazed wave of demand, Rado re-released a near carbon copy line of the popular diver in the years leading up to 2020, with some key internal changes, all while keeping the style unmistakably retro, actually near identical. Rado currently offers the new Captain Cook Automatic for an even $2,000. In this hands-on review, we'll go ahead and take a look at the Captain Cook's price in relation to its technical specifications, starting with the case, then the dial, then the movement, and ending with the bracelet. So join us on a deep dive as we figure out more about the vintage-inspired diver and who it might be for in this hands-on review of the Rado Captain Cook. It's rare that an established Swiss heritage watchmaker will release an evolutionary reference without making a slew of external design changes to appeal to a modern buyer. So Rado's choice here right off the bat is bold, but perhaps characteristic. See, Rado's known for innovation in the implementation of rare materials, which is to say they maintain a key mastery of their watch's fundamental building blocks. So then, releasing an iconic watch with the exact same design, but with only brand new materials then starts to make more sense. Upon first glance, one of the only visual differences between the 1962 and the latest Captain Cook would be the absence of the Cyclops above the date window, but unless you miss this detail or turn the diver around to take a peek at the redesigned caseback, you'd be hard-pressed knowing the difference between the two up front. So then, what is new? Well, for starters, a beautiful new ceramic bezel and an equally easy on the eyes anti-reflective sapphire crystal. And on the inside, an automatic caliber capable of reserving a whopping 80 hours of power. At 37mm in diameter, 43mm lug-to-lug, and 11mm thick, the Rado Captain Cook certainly exists as the runt of the litter if your control group consists of chunky oversized divers sourced solely from the 21st century. It even falls 2mm shorter in diameter and 4mm shorter in its lug-to-lug compared to one of our other favorite vintage-inspired divers, the Laurier Neptune. However, it does fall into good company if evaluated against its peers at the time of the Captain Cook's first release. Which is to say this modern reissue is externally lockstep vintage with the original. Box sapphire crystal? Check. Flat ceramic bezel? Check. Small case size? Check. Unique use of color? Check. The list goes on. And speaking of the bezel, the Rado Captain Cook now ships with a high-tech ceramic insert with laser-engraved numerals and markers. The original Captain Cook employed a simple coated stainless steel unit, so although durable, the finish itself was prone to a high degree of abrasion. In this case, the ceramic will keep the color and protect the bezel from scuffs and scrapes, extending the good-standing physical appearance of your watch. And although the Rado Captain Cook falls rigidly in the diver category, it does only maintain 100 meters of water resistance and a push-pull crown, so its practical utility for any serious excursions may be marginal at best. Although we'd wager anyone picking up the fashion-forward Rado Captain Cook is probably not intent on using it for such hard-wearing applications anyways. In terms of sizing, the Rado Captain Cook's currently offered in two case sizes, our 37mm and a larger proportion 42mm. We mentioned small case sizes as a defining characteristic of vintage-inspired divers, so if you're looking to stay true, we'd recommend the 37mm proportions. That being said, a larger wrist size could proportion the 42mm to appear smaller, especially due to the lean vertical height of both case sizes at 11mm and 12.1mm respectively. On the 180, the stainless steel caseback features a lively trio of seahorses punctuated by a trio of stars and uses two levels of finishing. It's a direct homage to the first 60s reference that displayed two of these marine creatures side by side, flanked by Rado text at the 12 o'clock and water-sealed at the 6. The dial is simply put beautiful. Starting with the background, our Captain Cook employs a radial blue gradient that transforms from light to dark as you push toward the outer edges. When viewed up close, a subtle sunburst texture even shines through. The light blue center helps draw your attention to the Captain Cook's central details, like the rhodium-colored rotating anchor logo with a ruby backplate, a trio of arrow-shaped high-polished rhodium-plated hands inlaid with bright superluminova, and the Captain Cook text above the 6 in an elegant script. Along the outer edges, a series of rectangular and triangular lume markers occupy each hour, and a sloping brushed metallic chapter ring provides indices for each minute in between. And, like the 60s reference, the modern 37mm Rado Captain Cook does still use the date cutout at the 3 o'clock position with a bold red text, but leaves out the thick cyclops for a cleaner, markedly less toolish presentation. If you're looking to stay as faithful as possible to the first Captain Cook iteration dating back to 1962 with an all-black dial, the dark royal blue option is your best bet, as the 37mm is only offered in another emerald green and separate white colorway. However, a 42mm version of the Captain Cook Automatic does exist with a black dial and bezel, although its larger proportions does deviate from the 60's 35.5mm case diameter. Powering the Rado Captain Cook is the Rado R763 Automatic, an ETA 2824-2 base with modifications affording an industry-leading 80 hours of power reserve. The 25 jewel caliber has a frequency of 21,600, and when combined with the modifications to double the ETA's native 42-hour power reserve and a Nivicron anti-magnetic hairspring, the Captain Cook does prove incredibly capable upon further inspection, even despite its middling water resistance rating. Currently, a watch featuring the trusty ETA 2824-2, even when modified, would normally run less than the Captain Cook's $2,000. Like the Hamilton Khaki Field Auto at $600 running off the modified ETA 2824-2 as the Hamilton H10, the Tissot Gentleman Powermatic 80 Silesium at $800 running off a modified ETA 2824-2 as the Tissot Caliber Powermatic 80, or even the Tag Heuer Carrera at $1,800 masquerading the modified ETA 2824-2 as the Tag Heuer Caliber 5. However, you can't in good faith equate its elevated price tag in strict relation to its movement alone. What you're paying for with the Captain Cook lies at the intersection of material innovation and thoughtful design instead. So for those looking for a true vintage-inspired diver with no fuss settings affording days of hands-off maintenance, the Rado Captain Cook would be a top-notch option worth considering. Staying true to heritage styling, there's another reason to pick the 37mm Captain Cook over the sleeker, more modern 42, the stainless steel beads of rice bracelet, another telltale marker of a vintage-inspired piece. The two outer links sport even vertical brushing, framing the 5 beads of rice style highly polished and staggered center links in between. The bracelet joins onto the case via a fixed end link, in the same fashion as the 1962, for an appearance that makes it seem as though the bracelet simply disappears under the bezel and then reappears on the other side when looking from the top down. And what's more, the bracelet is a stunning light show on the wrist, and the 7-link beads of rice design bakes in a high amount of flexibility affording all-day comfort. And like many modern reinterpretations, it allows for quick strap swaps using a 19mm lug width and a pair of easy-on, easy-off quick-release levers. So, if you're anything like us, the very first element that drew you to the Rado Captain Cook wasn't the R763 movement, or the anti-magnetism of the Nivicron hairspring, or even Rado's material innovation like the high-grade ceramic bezel insert. It was the visceral response to the beauty of the watch as a whole. Of course, top-notch specs only sweeten the pot, but we think that sometimes focusing too much on dollar-for-dollar value can spoil the magic to the point of losing touch with what you loved most about the watch in the first place. That is to say that a great watch can have the whole package, and the Rado Captain Cook serves as a perfect example with its unique charm.